Well now, I originally wasn't planning on talking about the whole Mizkif Emiru thing, but I've pissed off enough people in various places on the internet that I think I got some splaining to do. This is an object lesson in what your mouth can do to you, even if it's your digital mouth on the internet. Whatever, man. So let me just say that everything that usually happens with influencers in this YouTube thingy, whatever we want to call it these days, has happened. There are people that have been dogpiling the living shit out of this Emiru Mizkif thing. Just like with the Xbox Game Pass thing. I just didn't want to make a playlist this time because I know what the algorithm's going to do. I show the tiniest interest, bam, I'm getting everybody's videos. Even people who have nothing to do with the situation, but it doesn't stop people from just rehashing and repackaging stuff to be little YouTube leeches, sucking views and ad revenue out of every drama that comes down the pike. That's not what I'm going to do here. And so I'm going to piss off even more people by not making a video that's like this dog pile of people that are machine gunning words out of their mouth just to cover up the fact that they are not qualified to chime in on this. Internet 101 that everybody forgets. Everybody does not need to do their opinion on absolutely everything. There are some things you are not qualified to talk about. This is one of those for me and for many others. There are people, third parties, that could chime in on this, like Asmongold, who are closer to the situation and won't be as much of a bullshit artist as someone like me, some random AV geek in Connecticut who pretends he's cool on the internet, but he really knows his place in the food chain. I'm old, I'm fat, I'm not popular, and to many, many people, I'm not going to be entertaining. There are people who will be laughing at me instead of laughing with me. But I say, some people in this world, they need themselves a good laugh. So, if you want to sift through all the nonsense, there are plenty of younger, more handsome, better-looking guys than me that are gonna tell you about this, or you can go to the source. Both Emiru and Mizkif have videos now on their YouTube channels telling their sides of the story. What story? Well, after TwitchCon, after the nonsense with Rando Simp at TwitchCon that made Twitch look really, really, really bad with this Rando Simp in a flannel who walked up to Emiru and grabbed her and tried to kiss her. You know that thing we flipped out about a week ago? Well, she gave us more things to flip out about when she got back. She came forward with a whole bunch of nasty accusations about Mizkif and his behavior, and I find what she says to be absolutely credible because my experience as a Mizkif viewer, not one of the Miz kids, he's not like my favorite streamer of all time. He's going to be very mad if he hears that, but because he's a super jealous SOB. But my experience watching his streams over the years before his last debacle, which was when I stopped watching, my experience has been that, yeah, he is an overgrown man-child, and the single biggest problem is he doesn't really know when to stop being Mizkif and start being himself again. In the early days of YouTube, when people went too far to be entertaining on camera, including stuff they did off camera or whatnot, when people went too far as an online personality, they would come out and they'd say, but I'm just playing a character. This is a fictional character. I'm not really like this. And in the early days of YouTube, those of us who saw them go too far and have to do damage control, we laughed at them because, you made up a fictional character called YouTube Dude 123. Yeah, a number name. Apologies if there is a YouTube Dude 123. I'm just making up something off the top of my head. Your name isn't creative enough. Anyways, now that I've pissed on somebody's username, if they even have it, or someone will probably make a sock puppet account and they'll be in the comments like, what you talking shit about me for, Jay? This is why you don't go off the cuff with stuff like this. But hey, I'm an old fat guy pretending he's actually a decent YouTuber. Whatever. Like I said, I know my place on the food chain, and it's somewhere way, way down it. But so yeah, So, in the early days of YouTube, people would do damage control. I was just playing a fictional character. Now, if this whole Mizkif thing is like a persona of this overgrown man-child, the guy behind it, Mr. Matt, needs to... Hey, my Amazon stuff's here. Hope nobody steals it. A box and a bag this time. Woot woot. Anyways, we'll do that stuff later. So the whole thing with Mizkif and the whole playing a character thing is you gotta know when to stop farming content and be a decent human being. And I think that's where a lot of these problems come into play. Yeah, I was ticked off initially when I started watching his streams several years ago during the lockdowns, because the whole overgrown man baby thing. But some people, the persona can only cover up the truth for so long. You eventually start getting bits and pieces of who they are when the cameras aren't rolling. And sometimes you have to wait for something like this to come along to get the rest of the story and find out, unfortunately, that your trust and your loyalty was misplaced. So the thing with Mizkif is that if he totally self-destructs and everything falls apart and he goes from what he is to nothing, he's not going to be the first content creator that I've seen do this. There's a YouTuber who I will not be publicizing. I think he should never be popular ever again. And he supernova'd so badly, and he outed himself as such a terrible person that I absolutely refuse to publicize him in any way, shape, or form, so I'm keeping him completely anonymous. But many years ago, there's a guy I used to watch on YouTube. He had it made. This is a long time ago, so, baby boomers would still be YouTubers back then without being old retired folks like today. But this guy, he made a bunch of money working in the trades, and he worked a lot of really good paying jobs in his younger years, and he worked his ass off to the point where he could retire early. And so that's how he became a YouTuber. He had his YouTube channel because he retired early and he still had some energy. He wasn't totally over the hill yet. So he started a tinkering channel, similar to the ones that I would watch. Similar to the ones that I would watch then and now, where he'd tinker with all kinds of stuff. He was really good at it too. He got monetized. He did really well for himself, and he actually got to the point where eventually he was making more money retired than he was working his 9-to-5 jobs. He was one of those YouTube dream stories where people are like, yeah, I don't need a real job anymore. Except he'd already worked real jobs, and he was bringing in a lot of passive income as a retired guy. This was a guy who would make videos while getting up and doing whatever the hell he wanted to do every single day. Living the dream. If he wanted to tinker with a big project or a little project, it was his choice. He made whatever videos he wanted, and his audience loved him so much that he always got really good views and really good ad revenue back in the days before YouTube started, nickel and diming the ad revenue down to nothing. But this is one of those stories from obviously a long time ago. But he had it made. He didn't even need the money he was making on YouTube, but it was a big retirement bonus. And so this guy, he could have, whether he was working a big project, a little project, or having a beer party with his friends, this guy was doing whatever the hell he wanted to every single day. He had it made. And he fucked everything up and destroyed everything. What's with the adult language? I don't care if I get demonetized. This is a very serious topic, and I'm not going to miss the pennies. But this channel is for grown-ups, so I don't want to do like substitute swears or anything while having hard conversations like this. But this guy completely and totally supernova'd. Like I said, he had it made. He did whatever the hell he wanted to every single day, and he was living the dream, but he let his ego get the better of him. And he decided to start running his mouth about unresolved grudges he had from earlier in his life, and the people that had dealt with him back then got involved. It became this big drama back and forth, and eventually he crossed the line into doing stuff that was illegal. and he was creating video evidence in his little disputes with these people he was trying to settle scores with. Now, those of us that were there for, you know, the fun and games and the tinkering projects and the beer parties and stuff like that, we were like, what the hell is this? This isn't what we subbed for. You know, this isn't why we give this guy our watch time while we play World of Warcraft or whatever. I mean, this isn't what we're here for, but, you know, so he started attritioning, and he jacked the drama, trying to save his career that he himself ruined, crossed the line into illegal stuff. Law enforcement was able to get a case put against him because of the stuff in his videos. He got arrested. He got banned from YouTube because he broke the terms of service, and he served prison time. Retired guy, had it all, threw it all away, wound up behind bars. So yes, seemingly having it made, successful content creators can completely grind themselves down to nothing. If this happens with Mizkif, it will not be the first time I've seen someone self-destruct like this. I've seen it before. When you get old enough, you start having had seen things before, so to speak. You stop being surprised by things because you've seen these types of things before. There are a lot of parallels right now between what's happening with Miz and what happened with this guy that I refuse to publicize. So the aftermath of the story was, you know, YouTube being tra-la-la on new channel enforcement after you've been banned. He started a channel, but this guy has destroyed all the goodwill he had with his former audience. Now, there's a few hardcore, I'd say, conscience-challenged people that despite all of the terrible stuff he did and how he totally walked away from the audience he built up to pursue his own selfish goals that got him banned and arrested. So he still has he made a new channel. It gets nowhere near the views he used to get, and he has nowhere near the subscribers. And it's like when a star dies in the galaxy, it just supernovas and condenses down to a white dwarf. The white dwarf star is nowhere near as good of a star as what it was before the thing supernovaed. So that's kind of what we have with this guy. Never going to mention names, and there may be people in the comments that try to guess who it was. I'm not going to say whether anyone's right or wrong, but this type of meteoric collapse is something, if I see it again with Miz, it's something that I will have seen before. The bottom line is, and you know, this is something that I'm hinting at with this anti-influencer arc that I've been on, because I'm just sick and tired of this, people getting suckered and snookered by this stuff. Being a content creator does not end you being a human being. You are not exempt from being a decent human being just because you try to make something of yourself on the internet, just because you try to entertain people on the internet. You know, you see, and this is the thing with Twitch too. Twitch tends to, you know, Twitch built their business off of fake relationships. I'm not talking romance either, like with the e-girls or anything. I'm talking like you just being parasocial and thinking that, you know, someone you're watching is your friend. I mean, that's what Twitch makes their money off of. I've been saying lately, you know, Twitch isn't really about streaming. They're about the type of streaming that earns them the most money. The parasocial farming, personality-driven live streams. There are plenty of other genres of live streams out there. You can see them on YouTube. But what people think is streaming is really just what Twitch is pushing to make more money, because they don't have revenue streams in other places like YouTube does, with like ad campaigns, Google AdSense. You know, you can buy and rent movies on YouTube nowadays. YouTube has moved away from the personality-driven stuff towards YouTube has moved away from the personality-driven, you know, vloggers and YouTubers and things like that to being just a generic video platform. You can still make videos and you can still gain an audience, however small it may be, over time by putting in the work. But YouTube, no one YouTuber, not even Mr. Beast, is big enough to bring down YouTube if they go rogue. That's the key difference between YouTube and Twitch. YouTube used to be like Twitch. It was about vloggers and individuals. And if a corporation ever made a YouTube channel, it was weird. Now, everybody bowed to the viral video thing, including corporations like Blendtech with the Will It Blend series. It was viral video first, marketing material second. It wasn't really until CBS made their YouTube channel that we saw the very beginnings of what mainstream media would do on YouTube today. It was largely about individuals. And when the shift started to shift away from strong individuals with strong personalities being able to make something of themselves in what would now be called the creator economy back in the 2000s, I was pissed. You know, there's probably stuff still floating around out there where I'm like, the U's gone from YouTube. YouTube doesn't care about YouTubers, blah, 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 blah. And I used to be so mad about that. But now you see Twitch. You see what's going on with Hassan. You see what's going on with Mizkif. You see what's going on with the e-girls. All these people where Twitch has to compromise their ability to run their own business and be successful in any way as a business because of their own position with regards to personalities and stuff like that. Yeah, we're seeing in Twitch nowadays what YouTube would have been like had they stayed small and had they stayed focused on personalities. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty. Probably nearly everything that people complain about with Twitch and all of these big high-profile things, like both the sets of accusations against Mizkif, you know, are all, I think, the rotten fruit of Twitch's business model. It's interesting how, you know, people say, oh, parasocial, people think that streamers are their friends. Well, you know what? People, the big streamers that wrap themselves in purple and act like they're Twitch employees have the same problem. They are still independent entities, and there's a whole bunch of things that would come in play if they really were Twitch employees. But it's we talk about parasocial stuff on Twitch, it goes in every direction. It's only us, the viewers, that get criticized for it the most. Like, ew, you're being creepy and parasocial. Okay, well, when you're pretending that Dan Clancy is your homeboy, what do you think's going on there? You know, and when it gets to the point where the appearance of impropriety, which is normally a thing in corporate America, doesn't seem to be as much of a thing on Twitch, where, you know, don't do something if someone could second guess your motives for doing so. Don't do something that looks bad or creates bad optics for the brand. Yeah. I have my criticisms and my constant criticisms of Twitch for a reason. And this whole, you know, fake friends, fake homeboys, fake relationships, all this stuff that Twitch farms through the specific type of streaming that they push and push hard. And they don't intervene enough when it goes too far. Like what happened to Emiru at TwitchCon and what's happening in all the back and forth, the allegations between streamers and all this other stuff. And the times when they've run afoul of the law, like that dude that got drunk at that Mario Kart party, and, you know, it's just, streamer politics made everything kind of fall on the other guy when, let's get those numbers up. It's like this, lots of other things that could be in play here, but the Twitch Cool Kids Club, really, and all of this stuff, like this stuff that stresses streamers out, it's all part of the business and the business model, and Twitch is a problem for not having found a way to move beyond it. So, and the reason why I call this out when we have instances like what happened with Miz, and the real reason why I just can't resist calling it out is because these people that Twitch becomes their standard for how things are done in online media, they come over to YouTube and they want YouTube to follow suit, even though Twitch isn't worth shining Google's frickin' shoes. You know, it's just, there's just no comparison. It is absolutely apples and oranges, even from a streaming perspective over here. Like, I've been working on getting my stream setup working again properly, because I haven't streamed in nearly 6 months, but I'm actually very seriously reconsidering some of the established norms that Twitch has made kind of normal for streaming video games these days. So, and I'm rethinking a lot of other stuff too. And I'm having to think, am I doing this because it's popular on Twitch, or am I doing this because it's a good idea and my audience will actually like it? So, He's gone off on a tangent. I thought this was about Emiru and Mizkif. Well, it was. It's my specific response, which is going to be based on audio-visual stuff, the platforms competing against each other, and the like. This is the stuff I follow. This is the stuff that I'm into. I'm not just going to sit here and be a giant leech, fishing watch time out of saying the same stuff as everybody else. But I agree with the lawyers on this one, who are the law tubers that are on here that are like, everything goes back to Twitch. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Now that Emiru is out of the Mizkif orbit, I probably will check some of her streams out later on. I think she's probably had a couple of years to get her footing, find her footing when it comes to streaming, and mature a little bit. But if she's all chill and girl next door and stuff, I might watch her play some indie games or something like that. No, and just watch and enjoy. See, that's something that the past 5 years have taught me is, streamers have enough problems with wackos in their chat, so just watch and enjoy. And if you don't like it, watch something else. Don't, have a meltdown on X or something. The streamer is going in a direction I don't like. Well, there's plenty of fish in the sea, pal. She would have to double stream over on YouTube, though, for me to watch a lot, though. I really don't feel like giving any more watch hours to the purple snake. I don't even watch AI over there anymore. But, yeah. So, yeah, the whole Mizkif thing doesn't surprise me. The whole Miz thing doesn't surprise me. I think the big thing we can see from this is his petulant jealousy really ruins him. Now, here's the thing. There was one criticism I had of Emiru, and that was that the timing of all of this. She came out with these allegations immediately after getting eyeballs on herself at TwitchCon with that terrible incident that happened to her. So I was thinking back to Streezy Miyochi when Miyochi had someone come after her in, what was it, India or something? And Streezy was like, well, when the iron is hot, you gotta milk. And I was like, this stuff is criminal, what these guys did to your streamer girl buddy there. You should have more of a respectful attitude towards, somebody going through something bad. And this is the thing. There is so much fake stuff. I don't care what Ludwig says either. I know he's just as bad. I don't care what Asmongold says either. He's practically the Oprah of Twitch. He just tries to run his mouth about whatever's going to be popular, and he kind of slithers around issues. I've caught him doing that a couple of times, some of the things he does. He's entertainment first. I don't expect to be really informed by him, because there's many times when I find out that he was running his mouth first and figuring out what he said later. But, yeah, so these people and these streamers, they just, they're not normal people, folks. That part of the business model and the long con is to get you to think that these millionaires are just like us. But the truth is they're not. They're not. They're living in their own little bubble, in their own little fishbowl. Now, if you're 30-something years old and you're getting mad because your girlfriend's more popular than because, get this, your pretty girlfriend is more popular than you are on photogenic game streaming site that has a largely young male audience. Very young audience. If you are slamming your controller into the wall and putting controller-shaped holes in your wall because your pretty young girlfriend is doing better with numbers than you are, that's a problem. The thing with streamers and particularly Twitch streamers, but I think maybe YouTubers could do this too. You have to second guess a lot of the times everything that everybody says and does, because you got to ask, hey, is this just for clicks? There's so much, even on the YouTube side, there is so much clickbait, and there is so much dogpiling of issues, like I've been pointing out with this anti-influencer thing that I've been on for the past, since I've been doing these commentaries. That's just ugh. And here's the thing. If you can't take what content creators do seriously as is, how are you going to take bad stuff seriously right off the bat, not look like a total asshole? Like people were like, she got abused. And I'm like, the police should have, with every timetable that Emiru said in her videos, law enforcement should have been involved earlier. It wasn't tied. I mean, she told the timetable of when the bad stuff happened, when she moved away from Mizkif, etc. It looks bad that now, after eyeballs are on her, when someone could be like, milk, 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 she's out there bringing all this to light. That's the only problem I have with the way she handled it. The rest, though, you know, I find very plausible, very believable. But I think a judge should sift through all of this stuff. This should not be left up to people's opinions on the internet, because so many people out there don't know how to handle a controversial issue. They let their emotions get in the way. It just, no. This needs to be formally taken care of, formally sorted out, and formally handled, which is why I'm not going to spend a lot of time rambling on about this beyond this video. It's just, no, this is not something for me. It's not something for individuals like me. It's not something for content creators like me. This is something that you got to go through the proper channels. This needs to go formal, and this needs to be formally resolved, because even content creators coming up short. You know, back when the last round of Mizkif things happened, Devin Nash made his video absolutely praising OTK, because he was like, yeah, well, the legal firm they're hiring to do the third-party investigation is exactly what corporations do in order to get the people off their ass. This is how they make bad stuff like this go away. I'm over here like, facepalm. I'm like, really? You're going to say it's a corporate cover-up just to get clicks on YouTube? Well, now Asmongold chimes in talking about Mizkif, and he's like, after all that money we spent on you to clear your name, admission of guilt. Not like we didn't know that was already happening back then, but yeah, that's terrible optics right there. Really makes me wonder about OTK. But, see, that's the thing. Folks, streamers, Twitch streamers, and many, many content creators outside of Twitch are not normal people. You have to have a healthy skepticism towards what's going on. I do wish the best for Emiru, and I hope she improves her situation. Here in the state of Connecticut, we understand that abusive situations can be very complicated to get out of. I, unfortunately, have known quite a few people who've been through situations like what Emmy went through with Mizkif. So this is unfortunately brought back a lot of bad memories for me, because I've dealt with people who it was a pain in the ass to get out of those kinds of relationships. Especially when you have like the abusive person trying to get them fired from their job so that way they can never make money and they can never have the money to get out on their own. It's why here in Connecticut, the mandatory paid sick leave that we passed allows abuse victims to use their paid sick days to move out of somebody's house that's abusive to them, and or seek legal help, or, you know, file restraining orders and the like. So I know it does get nasty for getting away from people like this. Unfortunately, I think Mizkif, now, the overgrown man-child thing, I make fun of Twitch for being a place where there's overgrown children, with his 30-something-year-olds acting like teenagers. But if there's people that are doing it for reasons other than online persona and trying to appeal to Twitch's younger audience, that's a serious problem. And I think Dan Clancy needs to take ownership of what his business is cultivating here. Who has to get hurt before Twitch decides they want to do the right thing instead of just washing their hands through plausible deniability and the various the corporate defense mechanisms that they have to shrug stuff like this off? Most of the streamers I watch nowadays are double streaming on YouTube. I just want them to show up alongside like ABC News and the rest of them in my feed along the side. If I recognize a streamer that I like, I will probably fall asleep to one of their VODs or something, or something like that, to give them a ton of watch time so the algorithm knows to put them up top. But I just can't for the life of me see myself over on Twitch for very much, if anything, anymore. Like I said before, I think I said it anyways, it's going to be very interesting seeing what my year in review is. But because I watch Mizkif's side of the story on Twitch, it may very well be that I look like a Miz kid with my very low watch time, and him being the guy I've watched the most. Maybe I should watch Neurosama for an hour or something, or 2 hours to try and make up for that. But, yeah. Folks, I'm very critical of Twitch, folks, and it is not without reason. I think that the culture that Twitch has built and what they've pushed and what so many people out there have normalized because of Twitch's success is absolute poison to content creation. And every so often I invite people, turn off Twitch, get away from the streamers, cancel your subscriptions, go watch like an animal feed of like cats, or a live feed of like cats or something on YouTube, or fall asleep to something mellow to remind yourself that it's not all high-flung, strung drama from people acting half their age. And if anyone thinks I want to single out Mizkif with any of this, I know Mizkif's not special. There's a lot of people that act like this on Twitch. Present tense too, not just people I've seen happen before. Another high-profile incident, another high-profile overgrown children thing that I don't really watch because of that is Valkyrie. And we know that her involvement with Hassan and the stuff she's gotten into at Cutie Cinderella lately, unfortunately, is just reinforcing my decision. Yeah, once upon a time, she was the Pokemon of YouTube streaming. Yeah, YouTube propped her up with getting YouTube Live more established. But if you are 30-something years old and you act like a teenager, it just looks weird, and I'm far beyond high school. I don't need high school-style drama. I had all that stuff when I was that age, including a crazy ex, not mine, fortunately, who tried to get her boyfriend arrested after they broke up because she tried to get him convicted of, crimes and stuff. We'll just leave it at that. There are now laws in the state of Connecticut because of abusive teen relationships like what she did. But look, I've seen the nonsense before, and I think a lot of us need to realize all these people are doing by being the micro celebrities that they are on Twitch. I realize there are talent agencies that recruit Twitch streamers alongside Hollywood talent. But these micro celebrities on Twitch, and they are micro celebrities, these micro celebrities on Twitch are the rare lucky few equivalent of those popular kids in your school who everybody liked and adored, but they had all kinds of problems and they were messed up in the head. These are the internet versions of those popular kids in school that made fun of you and wouldn't associate with you and were all stuck up living in their own little fishbowl. Yeah, you may be nostalgic for the days when you had friends over and you played video games together, but what you're seeing from these Twitch streamers with their friends that they, streamers they collab with is not the same. It's just, when I stop and think about it, something that I've begrudgingly had to accept for many, many years with this internet stuff. Stuff on the internet is just not real, and it is not a replacement for having real friendships, relationships, etc. The internet will never replace real life. And the more we think it will, the more we set ourselves up for all the disappointment and the bad side effects that too much internet brings. I'm going to close with the words of the late, great Jerry Springer. Take care of yourself and each other. This is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.
We want to see peace and love, and for the